Okay, hello everyone. So this is my fourth project. In this video I will be talking about a real estate project. This is a real world project that I am trying to help to my friend Luke. So he's working with a client and he told me maybe I could help him. I mean, I offered my help actually, sorry. I offered my help to him, like if I am able to do something to help him maybe and improve my coding. And my mentor Jay also told me that like if I could do every opportunity that I find, just go into it and just try to code, I will improve better. So this is a client project, real estate project in Holland. So he done the most of the coding, like calculator or something. Yeah, he did these kind of stuff, and I will show you what I created. So I have created create post. This is in Holland. Let's just log in first. Yeah. So he also created chat settings and so on. I created new pond page, right? So there's a form, there's input fields, like the fields that will just take place in an real estate stuff, and there's a drag and drop image stuff. Of course this will be styled much better, but for now, for example, you create this, you add this, right? Just drag and drop, and when you select it, it just gets shown on the upfront. Of course this will be styled more, but for now I think it looks pretty dope. Like when you select the image, this also becomes a main image, and there's a border across it. So let's go jump to the code actually quickly. This was one of my hardest challenges of coding actually, right? I mean, for a lot of time with the help of Jay, I mean, I have built much simpler websites, not a real world challenges. So this was one of the first real world challenges, and I gotta say, this is where the learning really happens. Like, he just gave me instructions over Trello. Luke, the project owner, he gave me instructions like build this page, and you try to make it work from Stack Overflow, from Discord groups like React Flux, and from like Can't See Dots, from Kevin Powell community. Like you go to Google Stack Overflow, you go over through the pages, like it's like you are like a research machine. For example, this is a form that I generated from, for example, let's go to the, where it is, new pond, right? Also this project is also written in Next.js too. Okay, there's a lot of code. So this project uses Firebase as the backendish stuff, right? We use Firestore. So our aim is that we get all of these input fields. So I created React Bootstrap form and form groups and form controls. Okay, I have created each for these. The simple form controls. This is actually the corresponding HTML input, and this is label. And form group, let's say this is a div, right? And I have added an on change. So on change, like when I write these on change, this is counted as on change. I get the event. I set the state of plat the ground with the value of this event target. That means that whatever you write here, it goes to the here to these states, gets fulfilled, right? So I fill these states with this form input with on change event handlers. I fill this state with set state codes, like it is different for each set who is number, set who is boolean, right? then what happens? These states are filled, then there is a submit event handler. Like when we click on the submit button, this gets activated. So I have to make a such code that when I click this, everything will work as I wanted. Actually, this is as many people probably know, this is easy. Like this is something easy. These are just basic text input. But when it gets tricky is that this is a not one but multiple image upload. And you might ask why this is a trick one. Because Firebase normally accepts just one picture for storage. And it tells you that you cannot store the images at the same time with the other text input. Wow. So what do we do? Firebase has another storage for that. It is called Firebase storage. It only stores the images, as far as I know. Anyway, so we go to the Firebase console. So what does it mean? The storage stores the images, and then it creates an image URL, and we need that image URL to be able to store it into the collection. What is a collection? It is a Firestore database. So we need to be able to get the image URL first, then and put it inside of the document. In that way we can be able to put that one piece of a post, one piece, not like we get the image URLs later then we update. No, we just update the first, images. This is where the images get stored. Like you will see, this is just images. Oh, tons of images, right? And this is where the if you are familiar with databases, you might see that this is just the usual database stuff. Like there's an objects, if this opens, of course, like there's a collection name, database name, let's say, and this is the IDs of the posts, IDs of collections. So these are called collection. These are one each collection. I'm sorry, this is a collection. Like this is the holder, this is a collection, and these are the documents. It is in Turkish, so you might not understand. And these are the fields, or you might call properties, key and values. So this is chats. Luke handled that, and he created users, and I created posts. Of course, I played a lot here because the image URLs I said tricky one. So what do I mean with image URL? So when you update the image here, you update it from your local machine. This has no URL. And when I display it here, I display it with a blob. It is a fake URL. It is a fake URL. I mean, I cannot store it into the Firebase. If I store it with a Firebase, when you go to a different machine, how will you display it? You have no choice. So we have to get a real URL. Like it should be working across all the browsers and all the internet. To be able to do this, we first store it, as I said, into this file storage. So how do we do it in the code? This is a real question. So I created a submit handler here. In the submit handler, we usually do this e.prevent default. So it blocks the default action of this handle submit. And what is that? It leads you to the another page. But I say no, let's just wait. When I click this, don't go to another where. Just do what I say to you. Okay? So you give that order that just stop, prevent your default. And I generated an UID here. UID is just a manually generated ID. Instead of using the Firebase document ID, I decided to use my own ID. Why did I do that? I will explain that later. it is more healthy that I give this my own ID, because then I will be able to put this into the field. Because if I take the local Firebase IDs, I can't put them into the document as a field. Actually I can, but that would create me more code, more read and write. I would have to update this document again, right? I set this and I would have to set again, and this is more of code, more read and write, and this is why what we are trying to avoiding coding. We try to avoid more code with we try to do everything with less. This is the basic principle as far as I understand. Like Luke told me that you should just try to go less read and write for Firebase, because I think when you go more, it gets more price for the client, you know. So we go to the posts. Yeah, I give this ID, and these are the Netherlands language, like Dutch. So like ground, the house number, the price, the ground, the street, square meters, right? All the usual stuff. Where we get this? We get this from form. Okay, this is the keystone of this component page actually. What this happens? We generate the ID URL, generate this. Of course, it generates differently for each submit. And then we do a little bit of weird stuff here. So I got a little bit of help here, like I do promise.all. Why do I do promise? This is an asynchronous code, like it kind of doesn't work like from top to bottom, but it works asynchronously. Like some other code works at the same time, but they don't block each other. That's what I understood from asynchronous coding. Like we use async and await, like they await for other stuff to be completed, or they work asynchronously, like they work at the same time but they don't block each other, or there is a time difference between them. This is what I have understood so far, right? We have my files. So what is my files? My files is a state, and what does the state contains? This state contains what I drop here. These are called files instead of images, because they are not image yet. They are just file, like you just give the file. They are not converted yet. So on drop, I created a code here. This is a spread operator. You put all of the files and accepted files into this array, and when that state changes, it triggers this again. Okay, that's so far so good. What does it mean? That means that that state, my file state, contains all of your images, contains all of your files. So I use this as a leverage to convert them into the URL, and with that URL I put them into my document as a property, as a key, right? So how do we do that? Of course, I took this code from another where, so I implemented my own code, because like this is a Firebase usual stuff. Of course, I forgot to mention that my friend Luke, at first when he created this project, he created a Firebase component. In this component, he imports the usual Firebase stuff. Like when you create something, there is a usual stuff. He also created from the console a project. So I can't show you because the project is already created. When he created that, he gave these values. He changed the values according to this project, right? And he also exports the database, which is Firestore. The Firebase.firestore is the Firebase's database. And he also exports to Firebase as a separate stuff too, because what if I want to reach to the Firebase.storage? I don't want to use Firestore, and that's where the separate distinction becomes important, because in new pond, the new post page, I will try to do exactly that. I will try to first reach to the storage, because I take the database Firestore as database DB, and I take the Firebase as Fire. Cool name, right? So I map over my files array. Map just goes iteratively over and over for each element. Then I say asynchronously, just don't go rush it. I say asynchronously take my parameter as file. Like when I say file, it is just meaning that item, like for each item, like map. Then I say that go to the storage, inside of this reference, create this with this name, create this with this name. This is like an ID, like I give each image their own name as an ID. This is pretty cool. Like actually not much difference, you could give something else though. So then I say image.put, let's update this file, like each file, let's update each file. Then I say that when the file is updated, of course there are awaits asynchronously. I say let's wait and do this later on. Then I say when this is over, get its URL. But this is not one thing, this is many URLs. Then I return it, and this has the URLs, right? This is the download URL. So this is actually an array of URLs. So I created image URLs state here. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, this is just sorry, this is a variable. Like this is an variable array. This holds all the documents. So I didn't bother myself with setting a state, because like it was more of a code, and also you can't do anything else after the return, because it executes the code and you cannot just continue after that. It becomes unreachable code. And then I cut doing the set thing. I just did image URLs, and I copy paste image URLs inside of it. So what is this code? This is the usual Firebase code. When you want to add something, you just write db, which signifies our Firebase Firestore database, right? We export it here, import it from here. It gives you the connection to the Firestore. Then db.collection, we write the name of our collection, which is posts. I could just write something else and it will create it in another different name, but when you write posts here, it just continues over the posts. So far so good, right? Now here comes the quick part. The trick comes here. I say doc in parentheses in whatever. I say ID. What does it mean? I say that just go with my ID. Do not implement your own ID. Just overwrite your own ID and use mine. Why do I do that? Because in future I will use that in my another component when I display all these registered posts in another page, and when you click a one post with that ID, I will be able to get from this my files array. Otherwise, how can I find it? Like these will change constantly. These are just inputs, but I need something like a signature, something more lasting, like unchanging, and this is the ID. Usually in all projects, ID signifies the signature of the document or whatever it is. So I create and my own signature because I'm able to give it as a field here. When I give it as a field, I can loop through the inside of an array and look for the ID, which I will show you later on when I open each post. I will find the unique post with the ID with .find JavaScript function, but that will come after that. So we have basic promise, succeed and reject with then catch. I say when it is successful. Of course, this code just tells the program that just add these into this collection as this document with this document ID. Then I say alert me success. If it is not successful, I say catch the error and alert the message. So far so good. Let's see. For example, just randomly upload these images. I just wrote this randomly, not thought too much. See, when I click, it goes boom, the image changes, the main image changes. We click submit, nothing. Yeah, I think we got an error. Success. That means that whatever we wrote here, it worked. Otherwise, it wouldn't come to this point and alert me the success, because this only works when the promise is fulfilled. When the promise is rejected, it would return this. So promise is when it's like a real world promise. It either succeeds or fails. When the promise, this is a promise. When this promise succeeds, it returns this. So that means that I hold my promise, which is successfully putting these into the database collection posts. Let's see if I really succeeded. So these are where they are stored, right? I think this is it. We wrote like what, 13. Let's see, 13. We wrote, is it the same? Yeah, they are just went to the upside down. Let's see, check the image. Yeah, this is an array of image URLs. It probably uploaded first to the file storage. Let's see if I can find it, or the below. Yeah, I uploaded this image. This is here, and it returned an URL to me here. Then I put this URL to here. This is an array. Like if I upload more code, more image, it will be containing more image URLs. So let's go to the file store. I go to the posts. Yeah, this is my image URL. Let's see. Let's check it out. I copy the value. Boom. Yeah. It works. This is a real URL. You can open it anywhere. So this is basically it for uploading something to the Firebase. Actually, not only uploading something, but uploading many images at the same time, which is not usual way of operating on Firebase. It was a very hard code for me to be able to put together, because normally like they just upload one image and get its URL, and this is not a common practice. But when we use a drag down image for like client project, this is needed stuff, because he wants to upload maybe 10 images or more, right? This is important. So we should give him that option. To be able to give him that option, I found a way to do that. Then we get its URL and we create this, and we put all our fields and send it, then success. So that's basically it. Today I'll go over to the Firebase Firestore and Firebase storage and how to upload many images at the same time, get their URLs, then get them back into our program and put them into a collection together with other inputs. So this is basically it. Thank you.